So we always have a lot of requests for people saying, would you please give us a lot more information on Social Security? So we have the right person here for that. So let's start off, Rob, by having you tell us a little bit about what a public affairs or the public affairs specialist does for Social Security Administration.
No problem. Basically, the agency at this point in time, my job is to go out and give presentations talking about Social Security programs. I pretty much can cover the programs from A to Z. We go out to municipalities, big business, state government. We go and talk to teachers. And pretty much,
is all this done by request, Rob, or you outreach to them?
we kind of do both. I do outreach, and I kind of reach out to different areas and ask if they would like to have a speaker. And other times, people can visit our website, and you can actually request a speaker.
So, okay. So those kind of requests also come in as well. Do you go to places like senior citizen centers, et cetera?
We do.
You do. I can imagine. Are most people surprised by what you have to say, or?
I think they like to hear what we have to say. Because Social Security is such a hot topic. So a lot of people are requesting us. I think more people are understanding that, we're part of the entire American fabric when it comes to financial planning.
Exactly.
So they want to know about us.
So listen, speaking about the American people, what would be your comments as to what you think the effect is going to be, generally speaking, because we can get into it in more specifics. But given the demographics of the United States of America, Rob, right? I mean, we're aging as a society.
Correct.
And I think the fastest growing cohort in the society are 85 and over. I mean, this whole thing is growing. And you got 77 million baby boomers hitting the population and retiring now. So your comment to all that coming at you would be what? I mean, in addition to job security.
Basically, we got 80 million boomers coming in the system.
80 million boomers.
The system is still going to be there. We kind of recognize there's going to be some things that are impacting it. People are living longer. Women are having fewer children, which means that there's fewer workers in this system. But we do have a lot of money in the kitty. And Social Security does protect people in a bunch of different avenues. Not only is it just specifically just retirement, but somebody who is working and becomes disabled could get disability benefits, or somebody passes away all of a sudden. They can get benefits from Social
It's
Security.
interesting here you say that. We can get into some of the specifics because I know people are interested in that, Rob. But it's interesting, when I was doing some of my research on Social Security, at the time it was passed under Roosevelt's administration.
Correct.
At the time it was passed, there were 32 workers for every one retiree.
Correct.
Amazing. And that number is about ready to flip, I think, over the next, I don't know whether it's 10 or 20 years, to something like there'll be 2 retirees for every 3 workers.
That's correct.
It's unbelievable, Rob.
The demographics kind of point that way, and we've seen that there's fewer workers are paying into the system. And overall, we do recognize, Jim, that there's going to be a problem coming down the pike. But Congress ultimately is the final decider in terms of what changes are going to come down.
Yeah, they're also looking at the largest voting block in those active voting block too, Rob. That'll have an influence on them. Listen, the very first question I wanted to ask you is, for any of the audience out there that's approaching retirement age, and I want to get at that with you, do you notify people that they're about ready to reach retirement age, or do they have to take it upon themselves to find out what it is?
We don't automatically send out notices, but
Do not.
But more people have an awareness that Social Security is pretty much around age 62, and that kind of would be the jump-off point. But we're trying to encourage people to do some retirement planning right now. We don't care if you're in your 20s, if you're in your 30s, your 40s, or your 50s. Now's the chance for you to start taking a look at and say, hey, what am I going to get from Social Security? Because as we mentioned earlier, it is a hot topic.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because, I mean, our cast out here, look at them. I mean, Rob, they're all in their 20s. I mean, they're maybe even younger, right? All the help we have here. And at that age, you're immortal. You're never going to die anyway. So why think about it, right? So the reality of it is people really need to start thinking seriously about retirement planning at the very earliest when they're in their 40s. Once they're in their 50s, you got to be doing some serious planning to feel out where Social Security is going to fit in. And speaking of that, Rob, I have to tell you, this article that we both read, it was in November of 2015, I guess. And this article, I mean, the camera can't pick it up, but this was in USA Today. and it was sort of like a tutorial on what you need to think about in terms of Social Security. So I'm going to use this as kind of a guideline. And the first thing I want to get out there for the audience, because this article said that only 9% of the responders they had in a survey said they were relatively familiar with Social Security. That's a mind-blowing number. So the very first question is, what is the full retirement age?
Your full retirement age right now is based upon, it was, number one, there was an amendment change in '83. Initially, a person's full retirement age was age 65. Now your full retirement age is based upon the year in which you're born.
Oh, okay, so so in the article it said if I was born before 1937, it was 65 years old.
Now,
But go ahead.
the demographic we're dealing with right now is a majority, anybody born between 1943 and 1954. Your full retirement age at this point in time is age 66.
Okay. So for anybody out there who's thinking that their full retirement age is 65, I mean, that's just what it is, they need to familiarize themselves with it's now keyed on when they were born.
Exactly.
Because when I look at this largest number, it's something like 66 years and 10 months,
Correct.
right? Which is almost 2 years greater than when it was originally started, Rob.
Correct. And not only that, anybody who's born after 1960, for example, their full retirement age would be age 67. However, the door is always open at 62.
Right.
There's nothing that obligates you to wait until your full retirement age.
Right, which of course brings all right, now you're leading the witness, which I love, right? Which is the next question would be, what are full benefits versus reduced benefits? That plays right into what you just said.
Okay.
Explain that.
So if you wait until your full retirement age, you actually end up getting 100% of what you're due from Social Security. If, on the other hand, you opt to take your benefits at any time before your full retirement age, even if it's 1 or 2 months before your full retirement age, you're going to end up getting a reduced amount that's pretty much going to follow you the rest of your days.
Okay, so that decision that you make to retire, say, at age 62, that's as soon as you can go, right?
That's the earliest you can collect from us, yes.
Okay, if I decided to retire at 52 versus 65, my benefit is going to be reduced.
Correct.
I'm not going to get my full benefit, right? And that reduction is worth what?
Well, it depends. Some people try to calculate it out. It could be somewhere in the vicinity of about 10 to 12 years before there's that catch-up period. But, you know, what I usually tell a person when I go out and do my presentations, Jim, is I say to them, you know what? A lot of this depends upon how you play your cards. There's some things you have to think about. You know, what age do you want to take it at? What's your health? What's your family longevity? Are you going to go back to work? How much is your Social Security check going to be? So there's a couple of things to think about before you say, okay, this is the plan of action that I wanted to.
But the reality of it is, going back to what you were saying before, though, Rob, is that if I opt to go back to 62, with the general mindset of, let me start collecting this money while I'm still alive, even though the life expectancy now for guys is like, I think, the late 70s, early 80s. For women, it's more, early 80s, right? So I'm gonna play it by hand here. I mean, the reality of it is, I'm gonna be losing money. And I've read that it could be like almost 20% of what you would have gotten. Is that correct?
Well, the way I tell a person to look at it is if you take your money early, you can get it earlier and you can get a lesser amount, and you may get it for a longer period of time. Or you can wait until your full retirement age or past that.
Which is based on your birthday.
Correct, right. And you can get a higher amount, but for how much longer? Because the number one wild card is how long are you going to live.
Right.
So
right.
that's all thrown into the mix. You would end up getting a lesser amount of money, and again, there's a whole bunch of different moving parts that you have to think about and say, okay, I'm going to work, so on and so forth.
Listen, looking at you smile, I'm smiling myself. I'm going back to that Roosevelt thing again.